Yo, what's going on? This your boy Play B, chillin' my man Rip. This is the Apocalypse Project official. We back in business. And you know we playing around with this 3D printer, bro. Cause we over here big time in it. You know what I'm saying? so hey, Rev, I see you being busy. What camera do I look at, bro? Like, okay, you're hey. Rev's been busy right here, man. Spending his time wisely, I see. Anyway,
oh my goodness! Like
we got some new toys, y'all. We playing around. We multi-camera now. We doing it big, man. We think we over here on Joe Rogan. You know what I'm saying? We like
doing it big.
We doing it big.
I mean, how other else we doing it but to do it big? Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Sir Rev the Servant, and don't mind me, but I'm just checking out a few things. We're hoping that we're doing this right, so we're trying to get.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Yeah, we're trying to actually live stream our whole thing here, and I don't know if it's actually going out, but hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Sir Rev the Servant, here again with Play B. Play B, how is you doing today?
You know, had like 32 of these. So I'm feeling a little better.
You just turned me on to those, actually.
Whoa.
No, actually, no. So I had never thought about even having 805, and I've seen those like all the time in like the grocery stores or whatever, but I never thought about actually buying them because I thought they were like really okay, whatever, like real. Whatever.
No,
anyways.
Okay. Well, did I tell you the real quick? Do we have time? We have
time. We have a lot of time. We have got all the time we need.
So, a friend of mine had the black can, right? The 805, the regular one. And so I was like, man, these are delicious. You know what I'm saying? So one time, me and my wife, we went out to Texas Roadhouse. Wait, I don't know where to look. Like, I'm over here. So we went to Texas Roadhouse, right? And I tell the girl, hey, can I get an 805? I didn't know this one existed, right? This is totally new to me. She comes up with the beer in the tall glass, whatever. I'm like, oh, man, that was delicious. Like, what kind was that? Did you put lime in that? She's like, no, that's the white one. And I was like, oh, okay. So start drinking the white 805. I like this one. This one's good. You said you liked it, right, Rev? You liked it?
I actually did. Yeah. So it's a lot smoother. It's I guess it's gonna be the new semi.
I guess we ain't going ham no more.
no, dude, and we still haven't done that yet. I mean,
I want to.
We still haven't done that episode, and that's another thing we're gonna do. So anyway, so we're gonna. There's a couple things that I wanted to talk about today, and primarily is. We haven't been in studio in a very long time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things that have transpired. I mean, just too many things to talk about. Whether it would be on the political sphere or just there's a lot. So one of the things I wanted to bring up was this whole thing that happened right towards the end of last year, and it just kind of spread like wildfire. I guess that's the wrong terminology to use.
No pun intended.
It's the wrong terminology to use it now. That happened in, considering what's going on at the
considering what's going on down south.
Considering what's going on down south. But are you aware of an individual by the name of Billy Carson?
Initially I would say no, but after Googling him real quick and seeing this picture. I know of him. I've seen one or two shorts on TikTok, but I don't know too much about the gentleman. No.
Okay. All right. So here's something that I want to do really quick. I want to play a couple of things, and I don't know if it's going to come up over the camera right now, but I'll just for the sake of just listening to it, I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on what he says, and then in a little bit of a, how should I put this, but an interaction he had with somebody who is, well, let's just listen to what he says first, okay? We'll go from there. So here's Billy Carson explaining one of his most common actual teachings on the Bible. So I just want you to see and listen to this.
All right. And even if you look at the Sinai Bible, there's 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible, which predates the King James Version. And in the Sinai Bible, there was no crucifixion. To me, proving that the crucifixion was added. We know that hell was added in about the 16 or 1700s. And we know that in 1835 or so, I believe Darby added the rapture script. So we're talking about a really super remixed, modified, changed book that people are basing their eternity on. They're saying, look, I'm going to go into eternity because what's in this book, but they know nothing really about it. And even if you look at the Sinai Bible.
I think that's funny because it goes even predates the King James Bible.
Meaning of
King James Bible, of course, it'll go back.
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to really understand what he's talking about because I think So, and here's another clip, and I want us to listen to it. But I had never heard that phrase, the Cyanide Bible.
Yeah,
ever
I was going to
before
say,
in my
what
life.
is that?
Yeah. So, and here's another
So he
clip
breaks
where
it
he
down,
talks
right?
about a little
Big
bit more.
translation that's off is they say, well, Jesus was crucified.
Whoa.
Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible.
What happened
It
to
doesn't
him?
exist in the book of Barnabas.
Barnabas.
He didn't.
That's a fire name, Barnabas.
I know.
I know, right? I was gonna
but
say,
they left
that's
that out of the
badass.
Bible on purpose by accident.
So how did they kill him?
They didn't kill him. In Harvard Library, there is a book of Jesus' wife at the Harvard Seminary School.
Okay.
And they found that about 8 years ago.
Jesus' wife is the Mary Magdalene?
Yeah.
So she was not actually...
They're assuming it's Mary Magdalene. It doesn't specifically say, but it's assumed that it is, which means he probably had kids, and his Merovingian bloodline is still probably walking the land till this very day.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's in, what was that great book, the Dan Brown book?
The Da Vinci Code?
Da Vinci Code, yeah.
Yes.
So
there's probably someone related to Jesus right now.
right.
Meaning of certain
I'll give you
things.
one big.
Okay. So,
I do you one better, though. I see your Jesus, and I raise you God. Because then God say we're all created in his image and his likeness, right? So, I mean...
yeah. So he went on this whole thing. Now, granted, the people. So he went.
man.
Of course, we from this clip, those couple clips.
Yeah.
One of the clips is from Andrew Schultz's podcast, which is a very popular podcast. And then
It'd be more popular if they got us on there, but I digress.
well, anyways, so Andrew Schultz's podcast, and then Billy Carson has also been on Joe Rogan, which is
You crazy, Joe
which
Rogan.
is undoubtedly the largest podcast in the entire world.
Yeah.
And then it was also on podcasts like the PBD podcast. So
Wait, P. Diddy?
No.
I don't want to be on that podcast.
Wait, do you?
I heard what happens on that podcast. I'm straight.
Do you know?
A public service announcement. Y'all don't want to be on P. Diddy's podcast. Okay, those ain't microphones. I can't help myself.
So, anyways, do you know who PBD is? No. Oh God. Okay. Well, that's a whole other discussion.
Oh,
Anyway.
that's next episode. Stay tuned for that one.
He's another prominent podcaster. So, anyways,
sad.
so he's been on these really well-known, prominent podcasts saying all of these things that go against every conventional norm and every conventional idea of Christianity, of Jesus, of the Bible, and saying things like that. But one of the things that he kept saying all the time that really struck me as odd is the Sinai Bible, Bible. And I'm like, I've never heard that. And I've done a lot of studying and research in a lot of these different areas. I'm not an expert, nor will I ever claim to be one. But the interesting thing is, though, I have never heard any academic at all use a term of the Sinai Bible. I don't even have a reference for that.
Like when he said that, though, my first thought was like the Sumerian text or something. For some reason, I don't know why. Is that the Sinai Peninsula? Maybe, I don't know.
Well,
but that's where my mind went automatically. If that,
Well, Mount Sinai, which was the mountain that Moses went up and received the tablets from. So, anyways, so it's that region right there.
Gotcha.
From where
so it's kind of all up in there.
Yeah. So it's like that area between Egypt and Israel. So it's kind of like the Sinai Peninsula and all that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so this is what he kept repeating all the time.
Sinai
and then
Bible.
in November. Now, granted, let me lay this out to you because it's kind of an extensive story to tell. So
all right.
there's this friend of Billy Carson, and I don't remember his name, but he did a couple of podcasts after the fact because this thing turned into a giant circus. I think his name's Mark something. And he is good friends with Billy, lives in the same neighborhood as Billy Carson. His kids go to school together. They play together. They stay the night at each other's houses. And
don't drink the Kool-Aid.
So he invited Billy on to his podcast because they're friends. Now, granted, this guy has basically, in my opinion, is basically has a no-name podcast, right? So I don't think I've never really heard of Mark. I can't remember his last name now. So that's
kind of sounds like us right now. You know? Hey, I don't know about anybody else. I know Joe Rogan don't have this problem, but I watch my own podcast and be like, oh, we got another view. And I'm like, oh, snap, we're coming up. And it was just me from my wife's phone. I'm like, man, we got another view. Look at this.
If I didn't need this page right now, I'd go and see actually how many subscribers we had on our show right now. But oh man, I didn't expect to have this much fun today.
No, you know what? No, because let me break it down for everybody. Like when we came in here today, it was all business, right?
Business.
You know, we were in here trying to work out the kinks.
Business.
Rev got this. I'm going to take a picture and post this later. Rev got this big old Tupperware thing full of just wires. I'm like, bro, like, I know my wife gets mad at me now. I'm guilty of it too. I think all guys are guilty of it. You know, we got this one wire.
This one box
full of wires.
Well,
but it came in clutch.
That box was actually a lot bigger. I actually downsized that box. I
do remember that one of them Costco storage boxes. Like, dude, but no, it came in clutch because we came in here with no real intention of recording an actual episode. You know, we did that short. Remember that little?
Yeah, you'll see it on the. It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. Y'all check that out. But so you know, we're ironing out the kinks. We got some new equipment. We're playing around with some things. Like, so we got it all set up. Had some barbecue. Had a couple cold ones. We're like, you know what? Let's sit down and do this.
That did throw back some memories. I remember we used to, we used to do that all the time. And we did that. I remember one of the first podcasts we did, actually, the Servant Center. Remember that?
Oh,
and would actually,
dude.
Yeah, and we're going to revisit that again. But anyways, what were you talking about again?
Oh, damn it. I'm getting old, y'all.
Oh, my goodness.
No, yeah, but we're talking about the Sinai Peninsula. And,
there's something like that in our box of wires.
The box of wires.
Yeah, it came out of it. So anyways.
Yeah.
So this guy, Mark, and I believe I forgot his last name, but anyways, that's how we got on that tangent. So he goes on the podcast.
I don't believe you forgot his name. You forgot his last name.
He's invited, Billy Carson. I was about to say Billy Graham. No, not Billy Graham. So blasphemous. So Billy Carson is invited by his friend Mark to come on his podcast, and Billy Carson has touted himself as this expert in history, this expert in the Bible, in ancient languages. Says he could read Sumerian. He said he could read like all these ancient languages, and I've been following.
Well, you know, I'm half Anunnaki, right?
What half?
Yeah, the bottom half. It's non-existent.
Oh my goodness. So anyways,
I cloud myself. I'm sorry.
Anyways, he touted himself and advertised himself as this expert in all these fields, right?
Right.
So his friend Mark was just like, "Hey, this is really cool. You're here. Let's have a little podcast, me and you, and then maybe we'll get somebody on that kind of like this that doesn't agree with you, and maybe we can have a dialogue, right?"
Right.
So Billy Carson said yes, and then Mark reached out to this other, basically, I don't want to say no name, but unknown expert, literal expert with degrees in expertise.
So he got paperwork.
Yeah. So in all of this stuff. And the reason why is because I as much as I follow a lot of apologetics online, I never really knew the inner workings of this whole Billy Carson individual until this one event happened. So, and apparently there's been like tons of scholars and Christian apologists and academics who've been like waiting for an opportunity to interact with Billy Carson. So it just so happened that this guy by the name of Wesley Huff, who is one of these people and who has made responses to Billy Carson's things in the past, was asked to join this particular conversation. And so
he came knowing his stuff.
Well, yeah, not just that though. He was invited, and I think it's a tale of caution, right? Whenever you're going to be on a show, you kind of want to research the individuals you're bringing on, and especially if you're a guest, researching the person who's going to be rebutting all of your your
so
arguments.
I'm sensing his humor has got a little the best of them, there, right?
Yeah, we're not. So I mean, this whole conversation is extensive. We could actually probably review because it was only the first like 10 minutes of it is actually worth listening to because that's where everything just goes off the rails. But for the sake of
were they like arguing or
no, they were not, and you'll be very astonished because a lot of people have commended Wesley Huff on his gentleness, his courteousness, his charity towards Billy, even though Billy, in the eyes of all of these Christians apologists, have just been spreading all of this, like in his mind, just lies and nonsense and inaccuracies. So anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into this. So here's just a small clip I wanted to just show about a little bit of this interaction, because it kind of touches on exactly what we were talking about the Sinai Bible, because he actually kind of like asks him a little bit more clarification.
Yeah, because I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so let's go here. I think it's this one. There's two clips, or let's go here. Yeah, it's this one.
Say that it denies the crucifixion, or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's
not the one I want, because I want a little bit more. I want a little bit more
context.
Let me see. Yeah,
in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. And that Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later.
I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
Yeah.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible.
Should have brought it.
Right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring, when you say that it denies the crucifixion, or that the crucifixion isn't there. I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that?
Right now to make sure I have the version that I'm looking at.
While he's pulling that up too,
Mark Menard.
Some of the text where I was referencing, actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. In my video.
So he basically said multiple times, and you heard it on those two clips I played before, that he basically said that the Sinai Bible, which he's referring to, what's the Sinai Bible, which is known as Codex Sinaiticus.
Right.
That makes more sense. I've heard of that text.
Yeah.
So that text does come from the 4th century, and all it basically is, it just compiles all of the known written documents in the Christian world at that time.
Right.
But the funny thing is, like Wesley pointed out, it reads exactly the same from the Greek text that we pull, that we make translations from today for the modern Bible. So there's no different. It doesn't deny the crucifixion. So I think it was, and that there was a reason why he used the term the Sinai Bible, because an uneducated person would not make those connections. Even an educated person had to ask for clarification. Hey, when you say the Sinai Bible,
is this what you're referring to?
Yeah, is this what you're referring to? And then that's where he got caught. I was like,
well, let me get my phone. Read this. But it's funny how he throws out the King James version. A lot of other books, if you will, predate that. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what he's referring to is when King James. So there's a lot to this. So the translators of the King James version, they used so it goes back to how the Bible came to be the way we have it now today. So there were some translations of the Bible, especially the English version, that was kind of like relying on a manuscript that didn't have everything.
Right.
So it was a manuscript that had the bar. So it was kind of like not completely, because like when we look at the Bible, we see this is everything. But there was kind of like a process for it to get to that point.
Yeah.
And so the King James didn't necessarily change anything. They were just going off of what was available at the time.
Yeah.
So there are some slight differences from now to then, but it doesn't necessarily make it inaccurate. It's just that we got more of the picture as time went on.
But he's using it as, it goes back.
It's embellishment.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like, relax.
Yeah, so what I want to do really quick is let's run over to just a couple of the
Wait a
highlights.
minute, it's 2025. How you still got ads, bro?
Ads on my YouTube.
I'm trying to move this stuff.
Okay, so this is the conversation.
Yeah,
that
Bill do an awesome job.
Wait, he looks nervous already.
Editing
Can they
this
see this
intro.
over there, Rap?
No, they
Make it
can't.
Oh,
I got it.
man. Okay.
So let me see if I'm going to try to get it back over here so really quick, but we'll go ahead and play it as we're doing this.
Okay.
And let's see.
So let me see. I want to get to the point where they start the
got Wes on.
conversation.
which came much later.
What or how or why they believe that. I'm curious for you guys both, and if you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about, like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible.
The Sinai Bible.
According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary.
And that's another one.
Which, according to some scholars, is a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to, the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified. I just personally believe that Jesus was an amazing human being. I don't think that he was the Son of God in the sense that he's God, but that we're all gods. As he said, ye are gods, and that we're to do greater things in him. And I just personally believe that the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness. When we can all achieve a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, passion, understanding, empathy, love that he came to this planet with, and we get that in our mind and our conscience, and we can act on those incredible emotions and that understanding, that the whole world is going to transform instantaneously. And I think at the second coming is the coming of the Christ consciousness to the planet, not a human being flying back to Earth to save people. That's just my personal understanding of how I've perceived it over many, many years of going through this information and going through all this text.
And Wes, I'm gonna let you respond to that. And again, I mean,
isn't that what Jesus already said? No, just kidding.
Everyone listening to the show, I'm always like, challenge everything.
Yeah, that's true.
Learn to critically
you
think
have to. Otherwise, you become biased.
To come to your conclusions. Even with Jesus, I'm not personally even waiting on that he has to come back to. I already know like I said, that strength of God and consciousness is already, I can tap into that right now. So you don't have to wait for him to come back. For those that believe he does, to actually have that like next level of what that's supposed to mean.
Mm-hmm.
But Wes, go ahead on for what Billy was talking about. I think with a book in the Harvard Museum, and I heard something about Jesus's wife.
Yeah, well, first let me say I think it's really cool to not just be in the room proverbially with you, Billy, but be able to interact with you. Because I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, Toronto, Canada is a long way away from Florida. It's a little bit of a jaunt. But I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into a.
He's
you
all
can actually
cocky
look it up
about
on
it.
Amazon. It's a Bible called. I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But,
Barnaby.
they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus, like the codex that comes? Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification, because so you can actually go and see Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library, so you can go and see it. It's on display, and the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture,
Nice.
and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have.
Look, he's flexing. Like
I have a facsimile, so I have a photocopy.
I actually have it right here.
Done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here, and the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean, and not addressing something else.
We'll get my phone real quick.
Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek. It's a 4th century Greek manuscript. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD.
Yeah.
And
Facts,
its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply...
He's starting to look worried now.
In kind
He's
of
starting to look a little worried,
when you say that it denies the crucifixion.
Like, y'all know me, Mary?
I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified. And that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or, the John 19.
Where he pulls out his phone.
Or any of the other ones. So I think
let me go to Amazon and go to buy again.
Let's get this on Prime.
Confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the viewers or listeners or whatever be able to see that?
Right now to make sure I have the version that I'm looking.
While he's pulling that up, too,
and look at his friend. Look, he looks like embarrassed for him. And that's his friend.
Scientists,
look at the way he looks. It's like, oh god,
he has to pull it up.
Right way, like me.
Yeah, linguist.
What Sinai?
It's like, don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
Sinai Bible. So is that like a version? So from my own knowledge that I know, like when I really studied all this, what I thought was interesting about the Bible was how many different eyewitness. I studied C.S. Lewis back in the day. How many different eyewitnesses and stuff there were. I want to move forward
a little bit too.
And they went on.
What I'm getting at is.
Oh no! Sorry, we're not doing that.
We're not. You know what? I should have preloaded the AI commercial I had generated for our stuff and put it in here. We're gonna play that.
Yeah. Okay. We're back.
All right. To answer and also. I'm just curious, the Sinai Bible, where was that piece discovered?
I found the text where I was referencing, actually. I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
I never heard of that.
Okay, yeah, well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with, there are 2 manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document.
But have you ever heard of Barnabas?
Because
I've never heard of it.
Is a known forgery. And so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish.
Okay, really quick.
And then I want Billy to answer.
Is that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount. At the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2.
I'm just curious.
Sorry, everybody.
The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document.
Okay, so he goes and says that we only have 2 copies of the Gospel of Barnabas in Italian and in Spanish.
Right. So how far back did it go?
Neither one are ancient languages.
Yeah, it was probably some drunk Theo be like, come here, Mio, I want to tell you about...
Oye, mijo, es de Jesucristo.
I want to tell you about your Theo Barnabiquito. He was a borracho.
Oh,
I can just hear it now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted that to be
because
Yeah.
it is a known forgery.
a known
and so
forgery.
That's why I think it's
only
important
in
to get
English
these
and
sources.
Spanish
So
and Italian.
at the very
Right.
start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have 2 copies of,
Damn.
one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are 2 apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the
He knows
Gospel
what
of
he's talking
Barnabas in
about.
particular,
Oh, he spit facts, bro.
we know it's a forgery because it does things like in chapter 92,
Look, he don't even know what to. He don't know what to
says
do.
that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem, and neither Mount Sinai nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan River. So never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to like
He is from
around
Canada.
Mount Sinai or going to
What are you
Jerusalem.
talking about?
Yeah. What are you
But
talking
there are
about?
internal problems with the Gospel of Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. And I think a bigger problem is that the
they're
Gospel
just
of
like,
Barnabas
bro.
actually...
You know what that's akin to saying? Okay, it's saying Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, he's a drunk, but he's not a borracho.
Yeah, right.
I mean, or like it's like it doesn't
Yeah.
make sense.
Like
Anyways.
calling a tall guy short. It's like,
He paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. So there's a lot of internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of
Look at-
Barnabas.
he's
Never
just
mind the fact
defeated.
that we don't have
And
any
you
evidence
see how
of
much
it
energy he
prior
had
to
in
the
his last
14th
videos, the
century.
confidence that he had,
And
now
none
that
in
all
any
that
other
confidence
language
is gone.
other
Yeah,
than,
he's so
and
defeated.
this is-
Middle Age Italian
and
and
after-
or sorry, yeah, Italian and Spanish.
Yeah, Italian and Spanish.
But
Yeah.
the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then the fact that it's doing things like paraphrasing Dante, or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical
Yep.
year of Jubilee. And it goes with the Middle Ages concept, not the ancient concept. So I think what I'm getting at is, so I'm a historian and,
And
I
you're
deal
not.
with sources.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at sources, I want to make sure that I have a methodology by which I approach any type of source. So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make
look at
sure
the
that
podcast
I'm
host guy. He's like,
analyzing
like-
it,
yeah.
and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event.
My friend is a
So
fraud.
if we're talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover,
Yeah.
Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible.
Yeah.
The problem is that we have individual copies of all 4 Gospels going back hundreds of years before Codex
Yep.
Sinaiticus. So I have a facsimile behind me.
Okay, let me get another one.
P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. I can just
There you
show the screen right here. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John. And it has the
By
crucifixion.
any chance?
I want to be able to do that one day.
so
It's like, oh, by the way, I
papyrus
have
is
it right
just
here.
Yeah.
what it's made out of. So
I got that from ChatGPT, by the way.
yeah,
Sorry,
so
guys, I'm just
I can
trying to sound
actually-
smart for a second.
I have that papyrus.
Oh, he
that's
has a.
Oh,
yeah, so I'll show you this. So I make
I got that
so
one
the
too.
documents you actually see on my bookshelf behind me
We got
are
papyrus at home.
facsimile papyri that I've made.
Yeah.
So when I was in Egypt last summer, I went and I got made for me some papyrus sheets. And so I take these papyrus sheets, which are made from the papyrus.
And now
then
he's
when
just
I go
super
and
flexing. So I
kinda
look
wanna
at
get to a
actual
point where-
manuscript, I have single copies of the
Let me see if
Word
I.
library. However, the reason we know it's also not Word library.
Oh, the
However,
Gospel of Jesus'
the reason
wife.
we know it's
Oh.
also not legitimate is because even though the manuscript, the papyrus that it's on, was carbon dated to the 4th century, the text was actually copied from a PDF version of the Gospel of Thomas, known as Grandin's Interlinear. And there was a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the Gospel of Jesus' wife.
Snap.
So we know that this is not a legitimate document, even though the papyrus is ancient, and this happens a lot with forgeries. I have a couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries within Dead Sea Scroll manuscripts and within other ancient Christian papyri. But the reason why we know the Gospel of Jesus' wife, and that Karen King, who kind of vouched for it and she lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately, for her, and she's admitted that it's a fake as well, was because we can tie it directly to
just not holding back.
Copying from an ancient text, but actually copying from an online version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form. And the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text of that was borrowed.
Do you get what he's saying?
The phraseology of Jesus' wife. So I just point that out is, once again, with our sourcing, I think we need to make sure that we're going towards not just early sources, but actually credible sources. And unfortunately, neither the Gospel of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources in terms of actually, and agreed upon by not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know anybody in the field of papyrology, paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that.
Okay.
I was waiting for some great rebuttal, or something.
That he does that twice in this discussion. You see how West Huff is doing all of the conversating, and this conversation goes on. As you can see, it's like a 2-hour long conversation. But after this is pretty much all over. Like after this is
it's all downhill.
It's all downhill.
Yeah.
Now this is how bad it got for Billy Carson. So after this was recorded and it got put up, because it went up immediately, Billy Carson shows up at Mark Menard's house at 2:00 in the morning with the handwritten cease and desist notice.
This guy's house?
This guy,
oh, snap.
because it is his friend and they live in the same neighborhood, and he gave him this notice that he wanted to have this video pulled down because it made him look so bad. Because everything that Wes Huff basically wiped out every one of his arguments that made him famous in the first place. Because a lot of the things they were saying are not necessarily haven't been said before, but he was presenting them in a package as if it was kind of like new knowledge.
Yeah.
Like the whole Sinai Bible.
Yeah.
And things like that. Like, okay, well, here's some uncommon, unwell-known documents.
So
like
it must be true, if it's...
Yeah, and they're trying to suppress, like a conspiracy thing kind of cover.
Okay, but that's easy to step into, because I am not going to lie to you, Rev. I'm going to be real with you 100%. I remember when History Channel came out with Ancient Aliens, Season 1, Episode 1, I was all with it. I was like, aliens exist, man. But I think we could both agree on, after watching Ancient Aliens Debunked, it kind of put things in perspective. Like, okay. And then remember when they came out with that true docu-series about the mermaids, and everybody thought that was real too?
Yeah. So really quick, just to close up the evenings, I mean, this got really bad for Billy Carson. So he made a response video after getting all this backlash, because pretty much his career pretty much is over, because his whole shtick, can I say that? Shtick. His whole thing was all of this, the Bible is a forgery, or the Bible doesn't contain all the truth that we think it does.
Yeah.
So here's a clip, and I'm not too sure exactly what's on this clip, but we'll find out if it's...
My research and investigation is second to none. I'll stand by my research and investigation against anyone.
Where was that?
I found the text where I was referencing, actually, it was missing.
Dang.
It's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's a known forgery, yes, but I'm going to go with that.
But I don't know anybody
He just
in the
bowed down
field
like
of
that.
papyrology, paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that. Me at one of my most weakest states. He saw how I only weighed 206 pounds at his house, so it was very, very frail and thin. I've gained back now 15 pounds,
Yeah,
but at the
was his
time I was very
excuse.
thin, just weak.
He just got out of the hospital.
And I'm human. I might have bumbled the Barnabas text for the Sinai text or whatever.
That was one of his biggest excuses, that he wasn't feeling good. And so it did not go well. He he basically lost all credibility. And it's actually, you should actually look at, because his
You know
response
what? My
video,
stomach hurts.
his response video was like 3 hours long.
I gotta throw the crickets in there.
His response video was like 3 hours long. It was
Really?
yeah, it was really. I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched highlights of it.
I wouldn't even waste my time.
And
To
he
be real with
basically
you.
was saying, "Well, I'm rich anyways," and whoa, 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 like you know,
Damn.
I have billionaires on my phone. I can call up right, like just flexing. But it's really interesting, like the type of flexing he was doing and the type of flexing that Wesley Huff was doing. And at the end of the conversation, like Wes Huff maintained his composure. He did it concisely. He was very charitable.
He picked him apart,
he picked him apart with the smile on his face,
bro.
with a smile on his face. With a smile on his face.
He knew what he was doing.
He knew exactly what he was doing. So that was just
just like how they say a cat playing with the mouse. You know,
yeah, just
like,
battering him back and forth. Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so that was that whole spiel, and I just wanted to share that with you because I thought it was pretty interesting, and I know that it's probably a greater conversation that we could have at some point. You know, the reliability of scriptures and you know all that kind of stuff. That's more down my alley kind of deal thing. But anyways, so that's it. You know, I think we can call it here. It's like a 40-minute little show we got there. So thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in and joining us here today at the TAP.
That's right.
Again,
it's your boy Play B.
Yeah, Sir
My boy
Rev here in the building. And once again, you have been tagged.